Guys. So last video we talked about stroke and the kind of anatomy of dynamic strokes and that sort of thing. And you'll know that from that one that I was using teres minor or my elbow being in to my sort of rib cage when I'm drawing like a horizontal stroke there. We're going to use that understanding of stroke to start developing an understanding of form, because obviously developing form doesn't really make sense if you're just doing like printer style, like trying to develop forms, because you're going to create like weird things like this, like your apple's going to be like bleh, and you're going to be like bleh, and you know, that has some artistic merit, but it's not what we're going for, right? So today, some form. Great, it took away my pen. Give me my pen back. All right. We don't need this or that. So let's go here. So what we'll do is just some still life. I know this sounds super boring, but probably the interesting part about this, the way to make this interesting, and I never studied still life before. I don't care about still life. I understand its merit. Most people are like taught traditionally, like, oh, you do still life, and there's this idea that you just do it, and then that somehow helps you some way get better at drawing. But it doesn't really help you if you don't understand what you're practicing or why. There's all kinds of things you can practice on a still life, but you're never learning anything about like the actual structure of things you want to draw, so it's kind of annoying. But for this purpose, I'll do it so that we can really break down stroke. I tried to get a still life photo here that wasn't just all kind of like horizontal lines and lines going like this, because a lot of still life is, and that just means like you have to twist your shoulder line forward, you have to crimp crimp your like elbow in to like do this one, and it's like, isn't that just the most annoying thing to like draw? You're basically asking someone to like do the most unnatural strokes that they could possibly be doing, the strokes that they're not normally going to be using for like most of the things they're drawing, so it's a bit silly. So that's why I went for one that has like these cookies here, because it's a nice natural sort of line that you can just follow along. Like, ooh, here's the line. Here's the line. I never traced, by the way. I was just demonstrating. There's a reason you don't trace. It's very significant. Basically, it just anything that is drawn from reference, and especially if it's traced, anything that's drawn too much from reference, what tends to happen is that whatever you draw starts to look too controlled. And in that control, there's no artistic license, and then there's no flow, there's no feeling. So you've got three properties. You've got speed, you've got force, and you've got fitness. And these are separate from like the basic things. These are like more advanced aspects. Like to get advanced, you need to enhance these guys. And if you completely lack these and never train these, then you're going to end up with incredibly poor capability to handle and control feelings and emotions in your drawings. So that's why you don't want to copy, and you also don't want to over rely too much on doing reference studies, even though everyone I've ever heard is talking about like always study from reference. I think that is just completely bogus. There's there's a point to it if you're a professional, if you're going into a profession, and they just want you to be proficient at drawing enough to get by, versus whether you're going to do something that has to go beyond being proficient. Because if you're trying to go beyond being proficient, you don't want to do that. Okay, so that little thing aside, what we're going to do is we're going to break down these strokes and we're going to break them down into their muscle contractions. So isn't that interesting? Okay, so where is our muscle contractions from the previous one? Is it in here? No. Is it in here? Maybe. Maybe it's in here. Here it is. Let's just move this fella down here so we can just do it. All right. I think what we might do is we might just make a shorthand, just a simple shorthand. This might be annoying for everyone, but whatever. But supra, we'll just say S. Infra, we'll just say I. And teres, we'll just say T. Teres. And if we're going to talk about tilting the shoulders, let's just talk V or something like, because a V is like, or maybe we'll talk X, because X is like changing the axis or something. Let's just make it A, because A is for axis, right? Okay, so you have this idea, have this idea, and we have this idea. So let's put it here. T is for horizontal. Infraspinatus. Actually, we also need to talk about elbow, the elbow up. So we'll just put an E for elbow up. Elbow up. Maybe EU. Yeah, why not? Why not? Okay, so we'll have this for across. We'll have infraspinatus and supraspinatus for, these guys. I think I'll be doing conjunctions, so whether it's relaxed or... Yeah, okay. I gotta hurry up. So, all right, so we're gonna break this down and we're gonna turn this into kind of like a maze, into a kind of little race, just to make it more interesting. So as we can see, we've got at least one, what is that, a terrace? Yeah, we've got one terrace, we got one terrace down here, and maybe a terrace here to get this part of the line of this thing, and we've got a terrace sort of here in the cup. So here, here, and here is all terrace, right? Or there's another way we can do this, which is with a shoulder tilt. We can do a shoulder tilt and potentially get this line. So let's try it with terrace and a curve. Just bow out. Okay. And bow out. Whoa. Whoa. Hard to control that end. Alright, whatever. And then here. Bow out. So we've done that with terrace. Let's try it with like the elbow up position with it tilted forward shoulders. So whoa. Whoa. That kind of looks better. There's like a better feel to this one. Maybe. It's a little bit hard to get this bottom one. Whoa. Come on, pen. Don't do me dirty like that. Alright. So got this terrace, it's a little bit stiffer, obviously, and then we've got this sort of one where I'm tilting the shoulder line. What is this? Axis. So I used axis for this one. Oh, thanks, you made it gray. Alright, axis. So we have these ones which we use with this. We use a little bit of wrist action for those curves because they're smaller curves that we can do. We can just do, see, little curves like this. So as we're doing the action, like the, what is it? This thing, just like wah, wah. And then say with the terrace, we're going to be doing a wrist action like this, and wah, 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 wah. And you're basically looking for timing and stuff like that. So we've just figured out how we're going to do those lines, right? And what about the teacup part of it? So teacup part of it is we probably do want to do a shoulder tilt because it's coming down, right? And these are shoulder tilts also coming down, right? So that's basically what we want. We've got like 3 shoulder tilts. So we put our front thing forward and we shoulder tilt down, and then maybe a wrist flick at the end. Shoulder tilt with a wrist flick, wah, wah. Okay, and then shoulder tilt with a wrist flick, pa. Shoulder tilt with a wrist flick, shoulder tilt with a wrist flick, bah. Maybe with this handle as well, we can wrist flick through this process here, and then down, and then turn to terrace. That's interesting. So there, and terrace. We can create something like that. We can also contract with the terrace like that, but like that. Right, so that's like a little sequence of transitions. Isn't that interesting? So you got those sequence of transitions there, which is connected to the axis, where your shoulders, like I'm left-handed, so, I'm drawing like this. I'm drawing like this. And then, yeah, because this is forward, I can get that up-down axis much better, right? And when I'm drawing the ones that were coming across, my shoulders were like normal, but my elbows in tight to my rib cage. And this is the back of my head, not the front. Unless you're right-handed, then it's the opposite way. Okay, so that has given us a lot of the features of the cup, which, as I said, is the most unnatural part of drawing still life. Like, oh, come on, like, you really did me dirty like that? Or we can get the planks. Whoa. So tilt my shoulders for that one. What about this other one? Yeah, tilt my shoulders for that, and I'll rotate my elbow up. And there you go. Let's just, yeah, there you go. So, whatever. So you've got those lines just with a stroke, with a stroke, with a stroke, and voila. Then what you're going to do is, say with these ones, how do you do these ones? What muscle group do you think you're going to use? Well, I would say for this one, I like the idea of an infraspinatus twist out this way. So nice infraspinatus, but it's kind of going like this, but then it's getting really sort of linear like this, and then it's a rotation. So it looks like it's bending down like this, which would kind of imply that you might put an elbow up position. So let's try it with an elbow up position, and sort of bring it back that way. So you can do it with an elbow up position, actually really nice and easy. But I can also do it with the other way, where I would just be bringing out this pull motion with like another curve that comes across this way. So maybe I can go my wrist motion, I can come around like this. Whoa. So either way is acceptable there. You can use either way for that. But I think I actually like the shoulder position being over more. It's way easier to do. It's less of this is more of a complex wrist motion, while this one's just like a straight up motion that you can just contain really easily. You can easily replicate that for the other side of the cookie, the other central parts of the cookie. Like it's a joke how simple that is. Absolute joke. You're a joke, cookie. You're a joke. All right. Let's look at this blue one. So what would we do here? So with this one, it's probably like a shoulder tilt sort of situation, right? Because it is kind of linear straight up. You could try it with a teres minor contraction, like elbow in, because you can just kind of like stabilize like that and just kind of like drop it down nice and fast, so you can do like a kind of drop stroke. But you also, I think that's probably the wrong way to do it. So probably a tilt of the shoulders, and then just you'll just get that nice and intuitively. Boom, boom. Easy as pie, right? Because I think it's actually like coming in through here or something. Weird. Whatever. At this stage of your learning, do not worry about measurement. Do not worry about how accurate it is. Just make sure that you're doing it with strokes. And this is what people will not tell you at all. Okay, so this one, this cookie, how easy is that? That one's just literally supraspinatus. Or if you're right-handed, lift your elbow. Lift your elbow to do this one. Okay, so lift your elbow. For right-handed, and for left-handed, this is supraspinatus. Whoa! That's so easy. What the? That's like natural relaxed position, right? So it's not going to be difficult. And yeah, then we've got this one in here. This one is either the elbow comes in, and you can do it that way, or you can do it where you have your elbow really far over, and you sort of tilt forward, and you can probably get that one that way too, right? Whichever one you end up liking, it doesn't matter. But doing this is going to give you muscle memory for the strokes and stroke language for describing a form. And then you're going to be like, so it's this stroke and that stroke and this stroke for that form. And that's going to be super helpful, right? Doesn't look pretty, but you could make that look pretty. Doesn't matter, because now you have the stroke, like the actual stroke breakdown of this. So what was this? This was like supraspinatus. This one was lifting the elbow, was it? It was teres, but it was also lifting the elbow. Yeah, whatever. This one is definitely lifting the elbow. So this one was axis, right? Or whatever. And this one was definitely lifting the elbow. Axis. Ba-da-ba. This one was like teres. And these ones were what do you call them? Up and down, tilt, like axis. This was axis. This is not axis then. That's silly. This was elbow up. Whoa, that's what you get when you make up your own things. You just elbow up. All right, so you get kind of like this breakdown idea of how you're doing it. If you wanted to, you could even memorize that and like race through it. I'd imagine that would make you quite good. I'm not even confident enough to do that. Can I do that? All right, let's give it a shot. Why not? It's practice, right? Oh, sugar. All right, so yeah, let's do these down ones. Down, down, mug down, across, round. Oh yeah, we've got to do terrace. So we go terrace. Whoa. We go terrace. Wow. We go terrace. Wow. We go. What is this? Elbow up. Elbow up. Elbow up. Elbow up. And then maybe like sort of relax. Supraspinatus. 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 Like just a simple ba ba like that. And then maybe elbow over for this one under here. Bop, 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 whatever. Obviously not quite getting them. And then we've got this one which you can also do elbow up, whoop, bop, bop. It's probably better in a relaxed position, right? Bop, bump, 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 and pull this one across with like a terrace. Bow up, boosh, whoop, and whap, whap, and then maybe just play with the configuration that you got so that you can do things. So like do double swoops and stuff like that. And then maybe just try and clear off the form. Like, okay, this one's kind of coming this angle, and then I'll just cut through this and cut through this, and la la la. And then this one is definitely higher than I had it on it, and bap. Doesn't matter if your measurements are off. Don't worry about that. We're not worrying about that yet. So you can do that, and then get this thing under here, bop, bop, like that, and then doing this thing through here like that, like that, like that. And so long as your strokes are right, then, in my opinion, you've done it completely correct. You don't need to worry about all the measurements and things like that. So long as you're using roughly the right strokes and you've done something like this, fantastic. So long as you've got like different variations of the different things that you want, different angles, different lines, that it's not all like up and down and across lines, then you're practicing form. All right, let's go into the next idea. All right, so the next thing that you want to understand about form is, yeah, you got primary and you got secondary forms. So you got your big primary forms or whatever, like the big cup and whatever. That's your big primary form, which is probably a primary form of like almost a sphere. And then you just cut off the sphere. So you can do that, and so like, yeah, it's a sphere with another sphere thing here, and then I come down with this thing to like define the form like that, and come down the form like that, and then bring across like this, and then you're describing with the stroke language what the form is, and that's all you really need for drawing something that has a likeness to something. It doesn't have to be the exactness of something, just boom, you've got like this sort of ideas there, and you've got like a sweepy thing around here, you got a sweepy downy thing around here, you got a sweepy over thing around here, you got a sweepy downy thing around here. Boom. And this is the basis of your thing. So you create your primary form, you cut out the secondary form of like that top hemisphere, and yeah, that'll help you define it, is by thinking of it in bigger forms. So also, what's this? This is like this handle. We can just say that's a semicircle with just like a little bit more of a loop or a bend up there. And then you can just cut out the rest of the form. Like, oh, okay, I'll just cut that out, and voila. And you've got your little, cup. No one's going to begrudge you that your cup is different than this cup. There's nothing special about that cup. Until you go into the design phases, it doesn't matter. If you're going to change the design, then you're going to go into the features, into the thing. Up until that point, the accuracy of the idea doesn't really matter. Okay, so we've done that. And now I want to talk about something I call indicators. So when you're looking at this, there's like the plane facing you, which is really obvious and easy to depict. This part is definitely facing you. So easy to understand. Whatever, this part of the cookie is super easy to understand. So like, let's say 80% of the thing facing you is easy. But at the edges, at these edges, What do you do when you drive in a car? You drive in a car and you've got to turn left into this uh, branchway over here. And there's cars behind you, following up behind you, and you're here, right? What do? You indicate left. So when you're doing forms and you're trying to describe forms, what you'll end up doing is, yeah, you'll do a main form or whatever like this and whatever. But at this edge, you will have to do like indicators that it's turning. Like this is turning. So at the very edge, you want to focus in on your detailing or your idea because you want to indicate that that edge is turning. And this helps make the form be easier to read for people that are sort of looking at it. So for example, this reads like a pot or something simple like a bowl because of these little indicator forms. And say you could even push that a little bit more by making just the very edge of that one darker. So these are just indicator lines. And what you'll have on human faces, like this, say you've got like a subform that cuts the eye out or whatever, you'll have a very useful indicator just around this part of the eye because it's dropping back and it's changing plane. You'll also have an indicator along the jawline, along here, which is going to be indicating the turning of a plane into another plane. And these indicators, okay, so you're going to have like indication from the upper brow as well. So it's going to indicate from around that edge. And so these indicators, whoop, across here and down here and around here and along here and along here. And maybe if you have lips, right? Maybe the indicator will like follow the lips. So it'll do like some wiggly thing up and around the lips. Or maybe it'll not indicate around the lips. Maybe it'll indicate around the cheek structure near the lips. So you have like this little ball thing that's just outside the lips. And so it might indicate around that and stuff like that. So you just take special care to pay attention to where the indicator points are on forms, because indicator points on forms are going to describe a lot of the depth. So as you can see, this looks silly, but okay, let's like add in a form here, like a little circle form, a little crossover form like that, little crossover form like that. Okay, let's make him really squinty, whatever. Gives that interest, I guess. And voila, and then I'm just doing a stroke across here and stroke across here, whatever. And we can see that there's this turning that's happening on the face that we've indicated has been happening. And whoop, make this darker on here. And all of a sudden, it's got more three-dimensionality. And say, for example, if we're going to be doing a turn on the nose as well, there's going to be these indicators that sort of roll over the nose and then under the nose like this, so that they're going to go under and then they're going to go over onto the nose and up and over like this. And if you kind of understand forms by these little indicators in your mind, like, oh, there's this swooshy sort of indicating form that's doing this on this part, and then there's an indicating form up along this little tear duct region, which sort of swirls around here and then comes up, and it comes along here, and then it pushes and sweeps up here. Some people call this feeling form. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's Steve Houston. It might be someone else. But essentially, these indicators Yes, it takes up less of the image, but it takes up more of the bandwidth of a person's mind paying attention to it. Because what's important? It's not when you're driving down the road, it's when you're going to make a turn. So you represent these sort of indicators very carefully. So for example, most people's noses are going to look weird. Why? It's because of the special kind of indication that needs to be applied. Because if you don't apply the right way that it's indicating, it's going to look funny. And so you need to be very sort of touchy with the nose idea so that you can kind of indicate, like, and maybe even try different things as to indicate like where you want it to go. So there I'm changing up the aspects so I can get an idea of what I want to do with that nose. So in creating forms, like more complex forms like this, you would then just be determining where these indicators are. This is going to be an indicator at the top of the forehead, right? Which we want to capture. You know, especially around the eyes, you want to capture those. Especially around the lips, you want to capture them. So the lips have a very interesting structure, which I'll teach you a little bit about, where they have a kind of, there's the Cupid's bow at the top of the lip, whatever, which drops back. And then you have like the top thing. Everyone knows this part, Cupid's bow, whatever. But this part kind of comes under like this. Comes under like this, which is kind of a little bit weird. But then this part kind of like comes down, but then it comes over. It's like, what? You didn't tell me like lips would have this weird over thing. I'm exaggerating a little bit here. But then it comes under again. And so you have this weird thing that then hooks into like this thing. It's like, what? That's so wiggly. Why is it changing so much? And then at the very end, you have like these pits in the lips as well. These little pits in the lips, which then come out, and then there's like this ball muscle that's just outside the thing. And I don't know, let's make it so that this person's like biting their lip or something. I don't know, whatever. It's terrible. So I just did that to kind of demonstrate it, but essentially you would create this kind of these little indicators. I wouldn't even necessarily show the Cupid's bow too much. Oh God, let's not go into that too much. Because this is just off by about this margin, like because I've made it too flat. So then this would come down through here and then like up and down again, and this comes through and around. And you kind of gotta like understand like the weird indicating features in something like a mouth to like understand what is actually going on, so that when you are drawing like the lip features, that you just remember the kind of sequence of curves and turns, because then it becomes a kind of muscle memory thing that you remember how to draw a specific lip structure and which way to push it. So like, oh yeah, we've got this, but then we'll go in and then, whoa, we'll come up again. What? Why? I don't know. Like that'll come down and then, whoa, we'll come up again a little bit and then down. Because lips have these sort of funny extra ripples and bends and stuff in them. And then there's like indicating forms on like the lips themselves, like the very edges of their lips that do specific things. Like this one's going to be indicating back this way, and this one's going to be indicating back this way, and then these are going to be indicating into like a depression. Like they're going to sink away. They're going to like sink away, and sometimes this part along here is like really really clear to see. So you would remember like these little subforms, like the lips and the little indicators involved in the lips. You would also do the same with like little parts of the eye, depending on what kind of eye you create, whether it's more anime and there's a specific design you want, like for the eyelashes or something, or whatever. Obviously, noses have these little indicators too. So noses are typically okay. Let's explain a nose. A nose is typically, like most people think, like, oh, it's a triangle like this. No, this is the top plane of the nose, but there is also an underplane of the nose, and it's kind of like a triangular structure, I guess. So what you want to do is you want to represent the underplane of the nose more than you want to represent the top plane of the nose. If you want to represent a flat plane of the nose, you just want to take the ball of the nose and you flatten that aspect out. Because if you flatten that aspect out, it makes things way easier to determine where things are. Like down at this angle is probably where the nostrils are going to be. So, you can just do a little bit of indicating around this area and voila, you're going to have nostrils. While this thing is going to come across here, and maybe if you see the other part of the nostril or whatever, you might be able to see a little bit more of its features. But you want to be indicating, you want to learn how to indicate for features like that, which is just taking a little bit more time to understand the little features that are going to be important and what kind of strokes best describe them and help them sort of pop. Are you going to come across like this with the first part of the nose bridge, which gives a bumpy nose impression? Are you going to come with an oversweeping part of the nose for this first part of the nose, where you're going to come under and then over, which is going to give a more ball structured nose? So tiny little stroke changes like that, they're going to change the way that this indicates and the thing that it represents. So a lot of the feel of something is going to come from the stroke language that you've applied to get these images, to sculpt the forms, the secondary forms, and so on and so forth. And the way that you remember those and so on is kind of by practicing them a bit and just making sure that you tighten in on those little edges of form. You indicate. You take time just to indicate the edges. Indicate those edges. And once you've done that, big sweeping stroke line, that's going to give you like 90% of your stuff, but then you got to do those little 10% that give you that indicating. And then voila, that's going to make everything better. So this one, you could indicate the little forms that are on this thing and then how it goes like rectangular back there and stuff like that. You could do all that. That's cool. But don't worry about that too much while you're studying form. Just like, you don't necessarily have to study form on faces, but you could. Just take it one section at a time, like top of the brow, outside of the brow here, cheekbone, outside of the lips, little bit of jaw structure here, the inside part of this thing and the nostril, the inside part of the eye and the nose and brow and stuff. Then like, your nose structure, your lip structure, like whether that be the top part, the outer part, the bottom part. Just break it down into these little sections. What's that? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say it's 12. Let's say there's like a dozen different forms on the face that you want to pay attention to, just individually, where the indications are. So So you want to pay attention to those little subtle swoops and changes, just the way we did here. So this had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish sort of indicating kind of patterns, and maybe 7 over here. So if you're paying attention to a face, it's going to be a little bit more complex because you've got the big strokes and what they're doing. So I would just start with the big strokes and then work your way to these indicators. Okay, does that make sense? So that would be the same thing that you'd be doing in your drawing itself. You would just start off with the big form. You could start off with like, oh, it's a sphere, and let's cut that out, and then let's bring this down more, and then let's sort of curve off this form with like a second sphere. I don't know, whatever. That helps. And then that goes up like this, and you can just sort of figure out your forms with your stroke language, your stroke lines, and then you can figure out what you're going to do around the indication parts, because just like an exponential curve, when it's turning away, there's going to be more information. More info is in this little corner. And on the face and stuff like that, where you've got all those indicator points, there's going to be more info too. So when you're looking at form, look at your primaries. Primary. Get strokes for that as well. Get your stroke language down for the primary forms. And then what you want to do is you want to look for the secondary parts. Secondary. And then you want to get strokes for those. And the strokes for those are going to be more like indicators. So they're going to be a little bit more complex. They're going to take a little bit more time to get used to. And then you're going to have final tertiary forms. But the tertiary forms, you don't need to really practice too much as a beginner. Like, you don't want to be focusing on like the texture of an eyelid as you're just starting out, because it's too much to focus on. And it's not that necessary in your drawing anyway. All right, so take care, have fun, and have a good time learning. Woo! Bye.